How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm not a defending Super Bowl champion who rolled the dice on a bunch of things that everybody calls a genius. So that's not me. No, people don't call me a genius and brilliant and having foresight the way they do you. What's it like to receive that sort of acclaim in the offseason?
If we unpack your sentence,
yeah.
If you get lucky rolling the dice, you can't be a genius. You're just lucky, right?
Yes, but you had a plan. Like it's one thing to just go like, hey, what the hell, let's take a shot. But there was a clear plan in place in terms of top-end talent, valuing specific positions, and how you wanted to, like, you had a good quarterback. You went out and took a chance on a guy who you felt like had a little bit higher ceiling. That was a risk, but one that you weighed that risk, right? And there's some other pieces that you put in place. So, yeah, it's a little bit of roll the dice, but everything has its risk. I felt like there was a plan. You executed the plan, and then it all ended up working out.
Good point. We definitely had a plan. There was a blueprint, and it wasn't this blueprint starting in 2017 when we hired Sean as head coach, but it was, okay, we think Sean can be really good. Wow, he's really, really good. Yeah. And then from there, you continue putting the pieces together. So there's this. I would say this, the vision expands the more you have success. Like, okay, wait a minute. Wow, we can contend for a division. We can get to the playoffs. We can we can get to the Super Bowl and lose one. Now, is there any way to get there and win one? Even when you get to the playoffs, there is an element of one game. It's not a 7-game series, so there is some randomness there. But you're always trying to continue building so that, right, you have a chance to contend, and when you do get to the tournament, you actually have a chance to play well and win. There
were some moments at the end of the regular season where it didn't look great, right? There were still some questions. Was there ever doubt in your own mind?
You know what? I think what there was is that's a fact. We were 7-1, and it's probably ironically 7-1. Trade for Von Miller because we think, okay, we have a chance to get to the tournament, and boy, we would love playoff Von to show up in the tournament. But after he signed, and then after we signed Odell Beckham Jr., we went on a 3-game skid with a bye week in there. So it was a month without a win. So I think was there doubt? I can say this. That was miserable. But what we've tried to do as an organization, from the top down, and the players have bought in and are living it, is, okay, wait a minute, we're a little unsettled. We lost Robert Woods to an injury. That was going to change how we played, things like that. But is there anything we can intentionally do to try to be better on the other side of the adversity than we were now? And that's what we set to the drawing board, that's when I say the players were a huge part of it. Matthew and Sean sitting down and trying to figure out, okay, how do they evolve as QB, head coach, play caller, and things like that, and it worked out.
You had a drive in the second half of the Super Bowl where you don't have Odell Beckham Jr., you can't run the football, and everybody in the building, everybody in America knows you're going to Cooper Kupp, and damn if he didn't get open, and damn if your quarterback didn't get him the ball. You've been around this game a long time. You ever seen anything like that at that level?
Wow, it was. Because if you think about it, I think I mentioned it, Robert Woods was already down. Tyler Higbee, our starting tight end, didn't dress that game. Our second tight end, Kendall Blanton, got hurt during the game. OBJ hurt during the game. We were down to our third tight end who had not dressed much all year. And interestingly, during that game, our third tight end caught more balls that game than he was dressed all year. And that was a little bit being intentional about, okay, how do we get better through adversity? And there was a stretch even in December where, okay, we were down, we were wounded at our skill positions. So what were we all of a sudden doing? Playing a 2 tight end set, a 3 tight end set where one of the tight ends was actually an offensive lineman. I guarantee you in Sean McVay's entire career, he's never had an offensive lineman play tight end. But we were able to do that during the course of the year, and I do think that second half of the Super Bowl, all the things we went through during the regular season helped us stay the course. And give Sean credit, give Matthew credit. When the last drive came, it was like, you know what, we got a lot of these Robins, but you know what, it's just going to be you and Cooper, and we'll see how it works out.
Pretty special stuff. Now that you've had a couple months under your belt, how much of that is a life-changing, career-changing moment to be the guy who's the architect to build a Super Bowl champion in L.A.?
Really good question. It's very fulfilling because I don't think there's a day you wake up and go, wow, we actually, in terms of football, got to the mountaintop and, right, as John Madden said, was it's football heaven, or it's the greatest feeling you can feel in football. So that's something that you go, okay, that's definitely, as long as I have memory personally, there's probably not going to be a day that you don't think about right that moment of getting to the top. But what's neat is now you get back to the present, and we're not in the good old days yet where you're in the rocking chair just reminiscing. So 2022 is upon us, and as you know, the Buffalo Bills are opponent number one, and they're very formidable. So you got to put those memories to the side here.
You re-signed Aaron Donald to a massive contract. Sean, now has Sean? There's some reports he didn't. Has actually put pen to paper to sign.
You
that?
know what? I'm going to stay out of that right now, but
okay.
That's we'll let that play out.
Okay, so
here's what I do know: Sean's going to be the head coach of the Rams.
Fair enough. That was more of the point. But what to get a guy like Aaron Donald? Was there a moment where you thought he might shut this thing down?
I would say this: there was a moment that my frontal lobe said, wow, Aaron Donald's really thinking about retirement. In that, if we won the Super Bowl, and he loves his kids, and this would be a chance to retire on top. He's done everything he can probably do, except get more sacks and have more MVPs. But he's more than likely going to the Hall of Fame and all that. But I can tell you, probably the emotional part of my brain was Aaron Donald can't. There's no way that's true. So I think that's the conflict. But what's interesting, you respect Aaron, we all do, and it's like, wow, if that's what he really wants to do, let's have him take some time and figure out, does he really want to continue doing this? Because there's a stress and drudgery tax to Aaron Donald, because he doesn't just want to show up and make a lot of money. He actually wants to show up and be the best player on the field week in and week out, and he realizes you can't just show up on Sundays to do that. You gotta kind of be the best the other 350 something days.
What's your level of concern with your quarterback's elbow?
We're not. Here's what I say: from a football standpoint, not concerned. You're always concerned that Matthew's going through some things, but he went through this last year. I think what he's been trying to do is there a way, is there some techniques I can explore to get to the season in a little bit less pain, play through the season in a little bit less pain? Because he's proven that he can play with pain. So but from a football standpoint, we're not concerned, and we do feel like Matthew knows the offense. Let's allow him a chance, to rest this time of year. We know what Matthew can do. So let's call it a random Tuesday in August.
Well, the hard thing with these guys is they get to camp, and especially a guy that's got a fastball like that, they love throwing, and it's hard to tell them not. Sometimes you just got to shut them down so they don't throw a football. Because, hey, man, there's no games that are going to be won in August. We need your arm in December.
Well, I think the interesting is going through this. I'm not an expert, athletic performance medical staff there is an element of a balance between rest and actually still stressing, but not necessarily coming out and throwing the ball, 70 competitive reps a day. So you can't tell me the secret to Cam Akers coming back 5 days after having Achilles surgery? That was crazy. Yeah, that's just youth, genetics, but that's work ethic. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of variables. You're sitting in your office, and they go, "Hey, Cam's gonna be ready," and this is the end of the regular season. What is that conversation like for you? Similar to the Aaron Donald one, this was the inverse. My frontal lobe was going, no way Cam is playing this year. But interestingly, through the whole process of rehab, and maybe 2 months in, 3 months in, 4 months, long before he was going to step on the football field, when you were seeing him rehab, you were like, that guy was coming off an Achilles. I couldn't do that in my prime. So he was doing things just in the training room that you were like, okay, wow, maybe he can play this year, right? Because he looked like he could play right then. So he was the inverse there. Anything logical would be like, no way he can play this year. So give him credit, give our athletic performance team credit for doing what they had to do to get him out on the field. Have you researched or sat with or read any books it's a completely different realm, dealing with being the defending champion? What have you done personally to prepare for the different challenges this year? One of them was intentionally and we tried to do it, Sean, myself, the staff, players, is okay, let's, number one, renew, right? Get away, renew, so that when we did come back knowing that you start, right? Everyone starts at the bottom of that mountain again, and you're trying to get to the top. So when we come back from a spiritual, mental standpoint, look, let's be bored. Let's want to at least climb the mountain. So that was very intentional. And then I think we're gonna stay to our basics and go, okay, let's take it one step at a time. Now that's cliche. Your audience doesn't want to hear that, but here's how it's helped us. Again, last year at this time, we didn't have Cam Newton, right? Not bad, Cam Newton, Cam Akers. I'm an Auburn guy, so Cam Newton's right there in the brain. Go War Eagle if you're out there. But we didn't have Cam Akers. But on this Tuesday in August, we weren't looking for a running back, right? We were taking it one step at a time. Could any of our young players, take the load, things like that? Well, we got to the end, and there was a day where like, maybe not. Let's bring on Sony Michel. So I think that's our formula, taking it one step at a time. I know that's boring, but I was trying to give an illustration of, putting that into practice.
Cooper Kupp sets the world on fire with the numbers, the Super Bowl performance. And then you see all the numbers of the other star wide receivers in the National Football League.
We did redo his contract this summer, or at the end of spring.
So you got ahead of it?
So got ahead of it. And interesting what we've done, our philosophy's been, okay, when someone earns a raise, we've tried to not necessarily wait for their contract to expire. And it's going to be case by case because there's a lot of players on our team that would have earned raises, and we didn't go knock on their door. You just can't do that based on the cash cap system we're in. But with Cooper Kupp, we definitely felt like, okay, he had outplayed that contract that he signed a couple years ago, and we should do right by him.
You're most excited to see who play, maybe not in the preseason games. We know how Sean likes to roll.
That's cool though, because in the preseason, probably being a general manager, it'd be like if you're a baseball general manager and you get to watch your AAA game, right? Because those players are going to be future players, not necessarily all of them starters, but at some point there's going to be some players that play these next 3 games, like Bryson Hopkins, who caught 4 balls in the Super Bowl, that are going to, somewhere along the way be asked to contribute and help us do what we need to do in 22.
So in these scrimmages, where you'll see a little bit more, or in those preseason, you're, as a general manager, most excited to see who?
I would say this. There's not necessarily a who, but here's what I can say we'll look at. Okay, we lost Von Miller, right, and we added Bobby Wagner. We're going to do some things differently, going to do some things the same, but how are we going to generate pressure, right? Because it's going to be different than it was last year, but we still want to generate pressure. There'll be, all right, how is our offensive line playing losing a starting right guard and then implementing Joe Noteboom at left, even though we have a little more experience with Joe Noteboom because he has actually played last year. So it'll be either position groups or certain individuals similar to that.
Well, congratulations on winning the Super Bowl, on being the genius that everybody says, whether you want to say it was rolling the dice or whatever. You had a plan, you executed the plan, and you won the biggest game on earth. And thanks so much for joining us.
Definitely appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Les Snead. He's the general manager of your Super Bowl champion LA Rams. Have been kind enough to share some time with us here